No, and we had many conversations around this same point today, which is perception, right? The internal perception of the oil field and the external. So it's ironic because our boss has a very similar tale in which he is a chemist, and the, I guess, mission statement is to basically do better, right? Extract oil, which is a commodity and a necessity. You cannot do without. We are a necessary evil for modern society to function with all the entitlements. And I do say entitlements because electrification is a privilege. Yeah, no, I mean, sidebar argument at home about thermostat temperature of it's unlivably hot. No, I actually grew up without AC, right? In Taiwan, which is subtropical. So go to the valley. It's valley temperatures. And everyone that loves going on cruises, leave the gated fantasy, right? Of the dock.
Right.
And yeah, most of those people probably don't have AC. So I am saying entitlement. So yes, we are a necessary evil to fuel that lifestyle. And the outside perception is that, oh, bad, boo, we're going to protest and save the world. But how? Because have you offered an alternative that's better? Like, do better. And that's the framework from inside. Is we talked about how strangely aggressive but collaborative the oil field is, and that's because we operate in an environment of scarcity. So it's the inside joke where it's completely incestuous and everyone's a friend of me. Because I don't know much about other industries, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, how many other industries have direct competitors just constantly having open channels of communication? Because one day you may need something and they're going to bail you out for the betterment of everybody, because the entire community is a very small space. And because we operate in verticals, what one company does directly affects the other, right? And it's a industry that still operates on reputation.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You're only as good as your last job. Because the stakes are so high, right? The amount of capital it takes to drill and produce one of these wells, you know, that mistake trickles down. And so it is a strangely competitive but collaborative environment. It's actually the most organic in my mind, because right in nature you don't have any true enemies. No animals are trying to extinguish another for some abstraction, right? Because basic survival doesn't require that, and the oil field is that. Basic survival is that, yes, we are competing, so we are all eating out of the same pie, but I mean, no one's gonna go poison the pie, right?
It's in everyone's interest to maintain the pie,
right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree, and I think that's and I think that's one of those things that's special about this industry. And I think also layer on top of that the fact that we are much maligned outside of our industry. So it makes us feel even more insiders to something that we know that, dude, 90% of the country couldn't do the shit that we do. I mean, you couldn't just grab someone from some random town, I mean, man, woman, or child, and have them do whatever men, women, and children do out here. Dude, they just couldn't. They just freaking couldn't. A lot could, a lot couldn't. But I think that's what adds to the camaraderie of this industry. And maybe that's also why it's so, things are changing now, right? And they've accelerated in change. But I think why they say oil and gas is so far behind in technology, which is not true, but you know, that's what the rap that it gets. It's very old school mentality. But I think a lot of that comes from, we have to keep it within ourselves. We have to keep it to ourselves because no one else understands us. We don't have any support. The nation doesn't understand. So right, we have to keep it within our group. And I think that also makes it special for those who see it that way.
100%.
I don't know who sees it that way, who's in here, but I can tell you, and I know because I've been in the field, you've been in the field, I think that people who work in oil and gas, they feel pretty damn proud about that. I don't know, you can speak to that because you've also traveled.
Well, this is very timely because we just came from Shack in the Back, right? The official sort of social gathering for the Permian Basin International Oil Show.
Yeah, it was the official quote-unquote after party.
Yeah. Was the spirit of the place.
Dude,
right?
It was love and friendship and get together and have fun.
Yeah. Be irreverent and be real,
Yes.
right? And the perspectives that we heard from today from industry veterans, but the most awesome one was a new account manager who just came in from a different industry.
Right.
One of the things that she said, the word she said was honest.
Oh man, you got to be talking about Haley Kirkpatrick at Black Mamba.
Well, yeah, I wasn't trying to.
But that's her name. Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah. Well, whatever, bro. I mean, she's in the biz. We're all in the biz. Whatever.
Oh no, you're interviewing. Right?
I'm going to.
So okay, this was a very timely introduction then.
Yeah. No, and and you said it like, well, no one is going to poison the pot, right? Everyone has an interest in maintaining that the pie goes on. And it's really weird because how funny it is, we attribute it to oil and gas, but it has dick squat to do with oil and gas. It's all about the people, but we say it's the people of oil and gas are really special. Or I love oil and gas, but really what it is, it's the people. Whether it's how smart they are in the technologies with the stuff they come up with, or how smart someone is on pad coming up with a solution to a problem, and you can't get the part for 4 hours, or you can't get the part for 12 hours, right? Because the shop is closed in Midland and you're 7 hours out of Midland, and someone comes up with a repair on the fly. It's an incredible industry with incredible people. I'll just say this to finish. It's funny. When I was young, with all respect to my mother, obviously, is the same lady. She would say, I had to make friends when I was young because I was never going to make friends when I was an adult. It was hard to make friends when I was an adult. She's like, because everyone has their life, everyone has their friends, everyone has their families, and they're all busy.
That's sad. That's so sad.
Isn't it? Bro, because what she said that she believed that, and because she quote unquote found that, had that. For me, it's the opposite. My life didn't explode into abundance until I came into oil and gas, and I met the people here. It was also a lot to do with me and my personal changes and how I was doing, but I did not explode in personal growth until I came into oil and gas, and I met some of the finest people I've ever met in my life. You've been my friend for almost 10 years, and I met you in oil and gas, right? Dude, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Dude, I can't even start the list of people, and you know them all. Robert, Daniel. Dude, I can't even start. And these are brothers, bro. This is not just, oh, I know you. Dude, there's brothers, dude. And you said it. Dude, Matt Hill. I never worked a shift with Matt Hill. I never worked a shift with fucking James Regan from Driller Shack. But we treat each other like we've been back to backs for fucking forever. And it's funny because you know what that feeling is. I trust you because you've been my back to back for years. And you take that feeling and you're like, you know what? You fucking deserve that feeling. And to give that to someone and then someone gives that back to you, you're like, bro, we're fucking done, bro. We're done here. What more is there? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Man, I'm having a time of my life. Seriously.
Oh, 100%. I've tried to leave this industry 3 times, and I keep coming back.
Oh, no.
And it's 100% because of the people, and we're special. I think we're all a little bit on different spectrums, but perspective change, right? From inside the industry, who else is crazy enough to constantly work themselves out of a job? Right, so what we do in terms of optimization is constantly replacing what we do because we're doing better.
Right. You have to be out to eat your own lunch because your competition is.
Right.
So you have to be constantly coming out with the next iteration and the next development. What worked 10 years ago is not going to work fucking 10 years from now.
Now, to all the naysayers, who else is trying so hard to solve the problem?
Come back on that. I'm sorry, I drifted.
To all the protesters, the hardcore environmentalists.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So what does picketing with a sign that you wrote on plastic, which comes from us, like, how does that do better?
Oh my gosh.
How does that do better than us trying to be more environmental, more green? Just today, talked to Water Boss Technology. Their goal is to have dischargeable water, right? Take the sludge that we pulled from the ground and treat it to the point where it's basically rainwater and put it back into the ground. I mean, who else is doing that for the environment?
That's amazing. And you know what? I spoke today, and I know you were there for a little bit, and then I knew you were busy. We were at the International Oil Show, but I was talking with Steve Melzer of the chlorine dioxide freaking conference, dude. CO2 conference, dude. He said exactly the same thing. He said literally exactly the same thing. I'm sorry. I derailed my own train of thought, but.
No worries, because we are a group who really just get off on solving problems, right? So that's how we work ourselves out of a job. Because we keep doing better. Got it.
You know what?
And sorry, let me make this one plug, because you did say earlier about the
getting better
necessity of innovation when you can't find supplies 30, 40 miles from civilization.
Hell yeah, that happens.
Right? In the middle of the night. But problem solvers, when there's a problem, people rise to provide a solution. And so this place is also the absolute embodiment of the American dream. So shout out to Refco Supply,
100%.
who has recognized this problem and created a 24-hour, basically hardware store for the oil field.
Oh, dude, do they have 24 hours? Do they have a mobile truck that goes out to the? Do they have mobile trucks that go out to the locations? Because I know that some safety companies, they'll actually bring a truck out to locations, and if they're not doing it, they should definitely jump on that, because I've seen other supply companies basically come out and basically open up the side, and they've got gloves, they got wrenches, dude, they got everything. So major shout out to Repco if they're open 24 hours, because I can tell you it is terrible.
Google disagrees with me.
But really?
Yeah.
Listen, I trust you over Google, bro. I know you. I don't know the people.
They stock. I mean, yeah, they are a Oilfield hardware store.
Oh yeah.
So bringing the hard to find parts
on a 24-hour notice, dude. That's amazing. You know what they need to do if they don't have? They need to have satellite locations out in Pecos, out in Big Spring. That's what they really need.
Yeah, and even Big Spring. You know, today we talked to a representative from the Howard County Commissioner's Office.
That's right, yeah.
And talking about how the oilfield industry expansion there is creating real social change in the community.
Yeah, at least a rep, if I remember correctly. And she was talking about how there was, and again, I think it goes back to the oil and gas, right? Because a lot of the money comes from revenue in Howard County from oil and gas. That how much do people come together to work with the government and really help people on the long term, not just give them a Band-Aid, but basically show them how to heal themselves, I guess, if I want to continue the metaphor, right? And that was really impressive. And talking to her, man, you could tell that it came from the heart. That, like, I'm sincerely, man, like, that wasn't something like, you know, if I do this, it's going to be good for that, and it's good in a lot of ways. That's something that just came from the heart. And that's something, I know it wasn't you, It was Jay Whitlow, because we already know. Dude, do you know there's almost 1,200 nonprofits in the Midland Odessa area alone? So there is a lot of goodwill in this place, and especially out in Howard County, like we're talking about out in Big Spring, where there is a lot of activity. They're what is it? They're fucking turning and burning out there too. They're really turning and burning out that way.
Well, and then to the naysayers who would argue that my framework and perception is 100% self-serving and self-preservation. And that's where I'm going to argue that based on the conversations that we had today, like, it's a family business. So the reason that we're constantly trying to do better is that we don't have the entitlement of NIMBY, not in my backyard. We live here, work here. So we are trying to clean up after ourselves. And I really don't see anyone else putting in the same amount or if any effort.
Well, you were talking about, that's what I want to say before that I lost my train of thought. Was I know someone that you have a lot of respect for, I know I have a lot of respect for, is Ira Yates, right? Friends of the Pecos. I even mentioned him with Steve Meltzer. And that was the connection actually from earlier, which was that if you're really an environmentalist, you really claim to care, yeah, you can't pick at anything from the outside. You're not changing anything in corporate headquarters, outside the window. You're not. I said, if you're sincere, you have to collaborate with the industry, because they're the ones who are at the center of the problem. They're the ones with the money, and they're the ones who know better than anyone of what's going on. It's very analogous to how hunters are conservationists.
Yes.
Exactly. No one ever argues
because
that.
It's about sustainability.
Thank you. That's it. And sustainability, which again, to a shameless plug for myself, in all the articles I've written, I say sustainability it's not some fancy woke word. Sustainability is, how long can I keep doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it? Punto. End of story. That's all sustainability means. And if you burn it out, you burnt it out. So exactly, being a hunter is being a conservationist, because it means keeping it in perpetuity, which again, like you're saying about oil and gas, everyone here wants to keep the game going. And isn't that very much like the Tao? Right, but isn't that like the Tao, right? Because the point of the game is to keep the game going. That's the whole point of the game of life. Because, I'm going to lose some days, I'm going to win some days, I'm going to die one day, someone else is going to be born, right? But the race continues. The whole point is to keep the game going. And in whatever game I'm in, motherfucker, I want to help accelerate it and help it grow. Because, like I said, man, I'm just excited. I don't know if it's the people, maybe it's the people we saw today.
100%.
But, dude, and then the new people that we met that, like, they want to talk to you, they're excited to talk to you, they've got mad interesting stories, like the guy we spoke to today selling pipe, that was a journalist. He'd been to Germany on exchange programs, like on journalism, and telling me how the Germans perceived us and how he reported to them, how we perceived them in their reporting. Dude, like, and I'm not saying you don't get that anywhere else. I'm sure there's tons of people with tons of experiences, but somehow in oil and gas, it just seems no matter who you talk to, every other person has something extraordinary to say. That's pretty much my opinion, or that's how I see it.
Well, and I think it goes back to the culture. I mean, when you have a strong culture eats process any day of the week.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
theme.
culture here is the problem solving. So the people that are coming from other industries are the type of people who saw a problem and just have this itch, a passion to solve it. And that is the one unifying factor in the oil field. That's what keeps bringing me back. I've tried 2 or 3 other industries. And the spirit of the place is not there. What I felt tonight in reference to what you're saying, was that the community is a living thing, right? The spirit of it, and it's a powerful one.
Dude. Okay. So, we're talking about oil and gas being relatively small community, right? Even though we've got, it's all over the country, right? But we're a relatively small community. Dude, let's compare that for a hot second with SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management. Okay, what do I mean? The SHRM is the nation's largest association, professional association, if you didn't know that. So now, I want you to consider for a moment, what was it like today, okay, during the conference, during the International Oil Show, and then during an after party? Do you think even remotely, there's the same kind of passion, insane drive at a SHRM conference? Do you think that there's the same kind of insane life or death at the after parties? How many times have we had conversations where, dude, where we say it, we're like, hey, it could be me, it could be you. Dude, I had how many conversations even in the last 4 days where someone mentioned something, I'm like, yeah, dude, that could be any one of us who bites it. Because that's the way it can be. The oil field is a very dangerous place. But dude, any day, any one of us can die, right? It's not, I'm accountant 3, I take the elevator, I go to Starbucks, and it's cold in the office, I need a sweater, pity me. No, dog, it's fucking raining, and it's cold, and you have to, my favorite thing now is saying, I got to carry 100 feet of 1-inch hose across a pad, and I have to zip tie it into the blender. And I can't feel my fingers, and the blender's dangerous, and the pad, and we're getting ready to run up the frac, and the whole pad is waiting on you to run chems. Dude, no, dude, no. People, maybe in mining,
Military.
The military, right? But other than that, man, there's very little that matches this kind of energy. And I think that it's almost like being in New York City. It's not any one person that makes the energy. It's everything. So you come here and it's not JingLin that makes the energy. It's not, any one particular person that makes the energy. Dude, it is just everybody. And you feel it. And especially for the ones whose heads are really in the game. Because you got a lot of people who, like we said today about the oil show, right? You got a lot of mid-level operators, right? So they're coming to get the swag and maybe they chit-chat, but they're just in and out. And then you've got the people who really care about this industry.
The exhibitors.
Yes,
the showing this year was amazing. I mean, it just makes me feel proud to see our industry recovering, because it wasn't so long ago when, these shows came to a full halt during COVID, and the recovery was slow and painful.
Now, we may want to edit this, but it's funny to say that, because one of the people that I saw yesterday was Danny Pelcher. I don't know if I mentioned it to you, and I introduced you briefly to Derek Scroggins. He was the little guy, the VP of BD for Risland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I saw the president of Risland, the owner, and he was walking around today. Did he have a bag of swag? No, he didn't. What do you think he had? A notebook.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going around all the vendors. Who's here? Who's come to my show? Who's not coming to my show? So that's why he was here. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, so I've intentionally been just referencing titles so that we don't have to edit.
Oh, no, sure, no, don't, for whatever. No, in all respect to Danny Pelcher, dude, I love Risland Oil and Gas. Dude, Derek Scroggins, Cheyenne. Dude, no, everybody over there, bro. But that's what you're making so difficult, because this is exactly what we're talking about. When you know good people tend to cluster.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to cluster. And if you're lucky,
iron sharpens iron.
There you go. And when you find companies that want to do that, hey, let's talk for a second about let's talk about fucking Matt Ellis. Let's talk about fucking Matt Ellis for a second, and what a man this guy is. Look what he did tonight. We went tonight to a party that he threw, and it was like a half-half because of the oil show, but it was also because of his employees. Dude, you know, he spent he spent 20K. In a heartbeat, he spent 20K. In a blink of an eye, he spent 20K for his people. They stopped work. Actually, I asked the guy who was grilling, everybody stopped work at 3. So they could go home and they could clean up and they could come back and they could eat. And they were.
Did you also notice, right, that the guys that were working the grill itself, those were all in-house.
Yes,
The smoke team were machinists,
welders.
Like welders.
What did he call it? The hotline or something like that? The dude, he had some particular name for it. Was like, no, these are some bad motherfuckers.
That's a culture. Everyone's pitching in.
Yo, and that dude that was cooking, he'd been there for 18 years. He said, I've been with Mr. Ellis for a very long time. Wow, man. Wow. And the way Ellis treated his people, and you could tell even by like that customer who came. Remember we went to go and we talked with the sales manager, the national sales manager? He was talking with a customer. Like, you could tell all these people care. Dude, Richie from Martinez, was it Martinez? MTZ. And he's been with this guy for 25 years. Like I said, I know that this happens in other places. I'm sure that it does. I don't want to take anything away from any other part of the country, but it does not happen on the scale and on the intensity that it happens here. This is a magic fucking place. You know, my wife said it to me, and I was trying to frame, you know, trying to put words to these feelings that I have about living here. And she said to me, you know, one of the reasons why I love living here is because this was a choice. Other things were circumstantial. Why I went here, why I went there, anything. But this was a place, and the jobs that I took to go into the oil field, that was a choice. That wasn't, I got to do. This was a choice. And it was like a marriage. Like I told my wife, the second best decision I made, other than marrying you, was to reaffirm it every day. And Daniel Corral, because you know he's my brother, and he said, and he helped to turn my attitude around. He's like, I don't have to be here. I get to be here. So when I'm literally standing on a tank of acid, 6,000 gallons of acid, and I have the strap stick, and literally the whole frac is waiting for me because I'm calling down what the strap is, right? And I'm thinking, I get to be here. The whole frac is waiting on me. The spastic on the acid tank with a big ruler. You're all waiting for me. I control the frac. I get to be here. And maybe for those 3 minutes while we're dropping the acid, I am in control of the frac. How fucking cool is that? No one sees it that way. I'm the only one who sees it that way. But I get to do it. And man,
well, and since we're talking about
this is
perspective framework shift, is that everything you applauded about the Ellis Company culture.
Yeah.
Right? But what was that built on? We were talking yesterday how violence was a necessity, but yet we're applauding a organization and culture that's built on love and trust.
100%.
So that's been one of my biggest takeaways in my recovery, is that, yeah, we can always do better in every aspect. So I spent most of my younger years chasing career, but no, chasing just the next problem to solve. But unfortunately picked up a lot of bad habits on the way and didn't solve those when I had a family. And since we were talking about multiplying yesterday, those are not things that I want to generationally curse my daughters with.
Right.
And so I have to give a shout out to a incredible person that you introduced me to tonight, Matt Hill.
Oh man, dude, Matt Hill is the bomb.
Because as I'm trying to live this new life, I watched a man who was still the star of the show, openly announced that he does not drink.
Yeah,
Respect.
100%.
Completely counter all the peer pressure, because one of the things that I do associate with this oil field culture is the work hard, play hard.
Yeah,
But
100%.
even the perspective of play now, for me, is shifting, right? The distaste comes from the fact that my play now comes from seeing my children happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But much like college graduates who need to move to the big city, New York City, because they have to see the big city, everyone has to go through their cycle. And a lot of times I think that we forget that no, yeah, you said it, right? Our perspective changes over time, but it doesn't devalue any of the other ones, any of the other perspectives. So no, you're right. While like partying hard, or I'll just flip it and I'll say what I've always said is, you know what? For those kids who've never had any money and they come over here and they work in the oil field and they want to buy $125,000 Hellcat, of course they do. If they want to buy $120,000 Ford Raptor, of course they do. And you know what? They should have it if they can balance it with other things, right? Because they're young, so they should do it. But when you get older, as you say, you value and you see things differently. I do love the fact that Matt Hill, I didn't quite note it as much as the way that you did, that he refused, not that he refused to drink, he just doesn't drink, right? I have a lot of friends who don't drink for various reasons, but you're right. I think that, but it's funny because it's like making a mistake in the field or anywhere. Once you own up to it, no one can say anything anymore. So if he says, yeah, I just don't drink, he's like, I just don't, then people just leave him alone. He doesn't make it some weird thing that people badger him about, because he's authentic and sure about why, and you can tell it, not just because he has a beautiful voice, but it comes through in his beautiful voice that he's very sincere and he's very serious, even though he's always joking, right? You can tell he's always sincere and he's always serious and sincere, even when he's joking. And so people they let it ride because he carries that on the mantle of who he is. And no, man, he is definitely someone to study. He's definitely a case study in a number of ways. Because he carries himself very gracefully, even while he says that he doesn't. And that's part of his charm. Is he's always very, 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 very self-effacing when he's infinitely wittier and infinitely kinder than even you see. So I think that's part of the charm of Matt. He's a good man, dude. I love that guy.
What about mentorship? Like what you just expressed to me sounds like mentorship, right? And one of the things I've been blessed with throughout my career has been incredible mentors.
Yes.
I mean, what is it? Show me your closest friends, and I can tell what kind of person you are, because you will rise or sink to the company you keep.
You are the average of the 6 friends that you spend the most time with.
And one of the things that we were talking about and really expand upon is that part of doing this necessary evil is also making hard choices. So to me, this mentorship of bringing up the next generation is absolutely why we have to change the culture. Like the violence and the aggression doesn't belong there, because at the end of the day, it's counterproductive to the whole. It's just it's a comfortable shortcut. But I mean, when's the last time you made a good decision while completely flustered?
No. I agree with you. No, and I preach that constantly. And you know me from the beginning, I've always preached that for me to maintain peace of mind is my ultimate and number one concern always. Because if I don't have peace of mind, I cannot make good decisions. Nothing flows good if I'm flustered.
Well, and then in terms of peace of mind, we're talking about the young guys that make money for the first time and just start buying toys. What about discipleship, right? Like living by example. And I've had great mentors and disciple makers in that. I mean, all my life, my mother and my grandma. About, I mean, you tithe, then you save, then you pay your rent, and then everything else trickles down from there.
Right. And that's the
but
ritual
modern
thinking.
society has the whole thing backwards.
Correct. And with your parents and your grandparents, that's the rich way of thinking. Jim Rohn says it is like, poor people, they spend all their money and then save whatever's left over. He goes, and how much is left over? Never anything. He goes, rich people, they save and invest first, pay their bills second. Same money, different order. He goes, but it's just a different philosophy. And when I adopted that, it changed my life. Mentorship is very important. You know what? And even something as simple as talking with Steve Moser about the CO2 conference is like, you got 30 years, I told you, of papers and documents that this is all things all these guys are dead. So they're working on CO2 EOR today. Who are you going to go talk to? You can't, they're all dead. But now they're taking their documents and with AI, making 2-page summaries so people can go and research the articles. Like, what you mean about mentorship is that there has to be someone to pass on the knowledge. And in this case, I'm taking a slight detour, right? There's a virtual information from the past. But living today, like what did Matt Hill say? He's like, I got 2 guys who are starting in sales and I gave them your name and it told them I was going to mentor them. Do you think Matt told me about that first? Of course he didn't. Of course he didn't. But then he quote unquote saddled me with 2 mentees. Quote unquote, right? Obviously I will do it 100% because, giving and sharing a few years ago, I was very depressed because I was afraid I was going to die. Well, I was afraid because if I do it right, it may not happen. But I was afraid. And then I realized, look, because I love life. Okay, check. I'm going to die. Check. I can't do anything about the second one. So what do I do about the first one? Keep investing in life. Keep investing in the future. Right? And that's the only way I pulled myself out of it, was again to focus on other people, to focus on giving more life and giving back. I don't even think that I necessarily saw it that way at the time. But that's all I've been trying to do, is just give because there's no end to giving. And I know that pisses off a lot of people who are very close to me because they're like, well, you just seem to give to everybody, but you don't seem to give here. And I'm like, here's where I give the most, but I can understand if you think, right, it's okay. Because sometimes everyone has a cross to bear. And if you give, like, you just have to give. That's just what you do.
Well, I mean,
I went in the circle there, but still.
No, to me, it's, no, I get that. And I've even used this justification rationale of generational curse, but what about generational blessings? Like, you can't control the generational curse. Like, I can't control the environment I grew up in, but in passing it forward, taking on mentees that you were just talking about is not just in work. Like, why does it have to stop at work? Because if somebody's having trouble paying the bills, they're not going to be focused at work. So it is actually in my best interest for my people to be financially sound, for their family life to be peaceful. Otherwise, they are not focused on work.
Correct. Right. Well, and see, but that is asking a lot from someone who would be a manager. And let's say manager, right? Because that's a title that's given to someone. Leader is something that someone brings upon themselves. But a lot of people who are made managers, they don't have the personal depth to deal with other people's depths. And I want to mix something else in here.
Cup has to be full to overflow.
Right. Okay, so one day, and we had this kid, and he worked with me in the oil field because he asked me for a fucking job. So I gave him a job, and then whatever. But he said to me, "Thank you, Christian, for all the things you say to me." And I told him, I said, "Fuck you." I said, "Don't think you're special." I said, "I'm here and I'm practicing with you for my son." I said, "You're just a fool who's in the room at the moment." Now, I was being harsh with him, but I was still being true because I was pissed at him at the moment, which is, yeah, I'm helping you, but guess what? I'm sharpening my skills. So when it's time for me to mentor my kid, I've already mentored a whole range of people through a whole range of situations, through a whole range of ages. So it's not a waste for me to talk to some kid or anybody because I'm learning. As Jim Rohn will tell you, you have to practice, practice, practice. So when the time really counts, it comes out. And I've been blessed because I practice a lot.
Well, take the perspective of an engineer. I would say we are probably naturally the laziest people on the planet because the entire point of solving a problem is for it to do something that I don't feel like doing.
Right, a faster, easier, better way to do something.
Absolutely.
Of course, yeah, 100%. I understand that.
And in a work organization, my mentorship and training of the people who I will need to fill in for me makes my life easier. Or from a business perspective, it frees up a manager to actually do managerial things. So it is absolutely in my best interest to train up my people the best that I can. To basically replace me. Or do better because I'm an engineer. I'm going to create a me like 2.0.
I was a mortgage banker many moons ago, and I listened to these sales CDs. Dude, some of it was very good, but there was one line in particular I have never forgotten, and I'm going to repeat it because it bears importance here. And it says, people say, "Why do you spend so much money and time training your people? What if they leave?" And you say, "What if I don't train my people and they stay?" Right?
Facts.
So I have never forgotten that. And yeah, I always think it's better to lean towards training, right? Well, what if they leave? Well, dude, what if they stay? So, and yeah, no, in terms of your mentorship, but it's also free flowing, right? Because you have to be the recipient, you have to be a mentee before you can be a mentor. And you have to be the beneficiary of that, whether it's more formal or more casual in the offing, right? We're all blessed with mentors if we're able to see that. Hopefully. I know a lot of people aren't, or I guess a lot of people aren't. Or maybe a lot of people are and they just never fucking follow the stick, I don't know, dude.
And so what if they leave? If you've trained them the right way, even when they leave, you're basically just multiplying your brand. One of my longtime friends, but I do consider him a mentor, over at Surgitech. He blesses his employees with equipment to start their own business that may or may not be in competition with him, because when we first met, we talked a lot about rising tides lift all boats.
Right.
And, to me, the rationalization of the oil field being boys is that no, there are real men out there that are uplifting others. Yeah. Right? The only time you should be pointing your finger at another man is when you're helping him up.
Right. Or telling him he needs to put on his PPE. No, 100%. Like your goggles. And usually that's what it is for me. Is I usually see people without their eye protection. That's usually what it is, without their safety glasses. Oh, dude, I'm not fucking guilty of that too, dude. One time I walked across pad wearing a beanie, And because the pressure was on my head, I thought it was my hard hat. And the safety guy didn't even stress me. I said, oh my gosh, I thought, and he goes, you thought it was your hard hat? I said, yeah. He goes, I understand, man. And I was like, oh my God, dude. Because he really could have given me a hard time, bro. He really could have given me a hard time. And I said, I swear, I thought I was wearing it. Yeah, because what jackass walks across without a hard hat? But the mentorship, man, like, because oh man, it's terrible. I'm just a Jim Rohn clone. But Jim Rohn said it, right? He's like, the best way to learn these things is to teach it. He goes, because the more you say it, right? He goes, you say it 1,000 times. He goes, those people only hear it one time. You hear it 1,000 times. It does you more good than it does them. Why? He says the best way to do it is to teach it because it keeps you honest. That's why I walk this, bro. Because if not, it doesn't keep me honest. This is for real. But Jim said it too, right? People say, hey, Mr. Rohn, you talk all this self-improvement thing. How are you doing? He goes, hey, you can listen to what I said, but don't watch me too close. I'm working on it just like everybody else. Right? I'm human just like everybody else, bro. But it doesn't mean I don't recognize the platonic ideals. I mean, I draw a perfect triangle. Doesn't mean I don't know what the perfect triangle is. Cheers to perfect triangles. Brother. Cheers. Well, and I think that's one thing that I think is another universal truth is that everyone is attaining to God in their own way, or to their ideal, or to the good, whatever they think it is. That's the whole arc of their life. If not, what do they do?
Well, going back to the universal story, there is a nuance that is also surprisingly uniform across all cultures, is that there is a fall. The hero has to fail.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, and there has to be the death to have a rebirth. Yes,
100%.
Oh, without a doubt. No, that's a key feature. That's a key feature. You must lose your life in order to gain it.
And in that is where 100% agree with you. I mean, kids need to eat dirt, boys need to be boys, but it can be done constructively. We can do better.
It can. Oh, you know what? I want to maybe not necessarily clarify, or maybe clarify or develop a little more. Not that we need to go down that road. But when we talk about the oil field being a violent place, right? And then contrasting that with, I'm just going to cut right to it, like, brotherly love and, taking care of one another. I want to examine what I mean, or say what I mean by it's violent. It only occurred to me after the fact of saying that. Of my other initial examples was like, oh, dude, we take a giant rod and we fucking bang the earth. You know what I mean? Like, we literally are just fucking banging away at it until we have fucking pierced it. Like, I mean, that's pretty violent, right? Dude, swinging the sledgehammer on an iron, what do they call it? An iron connection? I forgot now. What is it? What do they call it?
The wing unions?
Yeah. There you go. An iron union, yeah. I mean, dude, swinging that's pretty fucking violent, right? I mean, that's what I mean. A lot of things take a lot of, in that sense, they take a lot of violence. I don't mean brother on brother, but a lot of things are brutally violent.
There's plenty of all of the above. The answer is yes. I mean, this is introspective. I mean, because that's what we do, and that's what the concurrent conferences are for the industry. It's an introspective.
Right.
And earlier you mentioned sustainability, right? Not being a woke word, right? It only is if it's a slogan, right? Sustainability is what you practice, because there's no other way to test the theory, and we live that as an industry.
Absolutely. Like we said, the pit doesn't lie, right? I mean, you can say whatever you want on your paperwork for results, but you go to the pit and you test it, it ain't gonna lie. So it's there. No, this is very much a 1-2. There's very few times where there's a long lag. There's a few parts of our process where there's a long lag between seeing the benefit. But for the most part, no, dude, you can see almost immediately. That was, and not to get derivative either, but I do want to say, that was one thing I loved so much about water treatment, because I was in control of my water plant. I knew exactly what all my inputs were, and I knew, because I could start playing with my inputs. And as soon as I started playing with my inputs, I could see what my outputs were. And man, for some reason, I just dialed that in, and I kept playing with my inputs. Bro, there was nothing I didn't know. There was nothing I didn't know, dude. There was nothing I didn't know about the BM water plant. Nothing. I knew everything about that water plant. Oh, thanks. Was it?
Well,
Oh,
yeah, no, it's a wrap. I'll see you tomorrow.